Hello student, I am Dr. Shashank Sahu from Computer Science Engineering Department. Today I am going to discuss about the topic box model and CSS selector. Basically this topic is of subject web designing KCS 052. So the question is, what is the box model? I assume for this lecture is that you know the basics of CSS, that is cascading style sheets. So I am going to start directly from the box model. So box model basically is a container. Box model basically it is a container that contains multiple properties, like it has a border, it has a margin, it has a padding, as well as it has a content. So whenever we are going to create the content in CSS, around the content there are many other things are there, like we have a padding, borders and margin. So important part is in web browser, every element will be considered as a rectangle box, we call as a box model. So if you look for the figure, in the figure this is the content part. Around the content we have a padding. Padding basically the a kind of space between the border and the content, and around the padding we can create a border, and after the border we have the margins. So this is a block diagram of a box model, or you can say every element consists of this four elements: content, padding, border and margin. So content basically is a text or images, you can include anything. Padding is the area that is transparent, and border goes around the padding and content to give a different look and feel, and margin provides an outside border. It is also transparent. So in the box model, the four important elements: content, padding, border and margin. Now in the box model we can calculate the width and height properties that is used to set the content of a box. So calculating the width and height property, we will use padding as well as border as well as margin property to evaluate, or you can say calculate the height and width of an element. Now look for a formula. So total width which is calculated for a box model consists of width, left padding and right padding, left border and right border, left margin and right margin. This is the width of the content. Now similarly, to calculate the height of an element, so we use height, that is the height of the content. Then we have a top padding, bottom padding, and we have similarly top border and top margin and bottom margin. Now look for an example to calculate the width and height of box model. So in the P tag we have width 80 pixel and height is 70 pixel and margin equal to 0. Border is 2 pixels solid black and padding is 5 pixel. Now for this P element we are going to calculate the total width of this box model. So it will be of 94 pixel. The way of the calculation of this 94 pixel is, we have contained pixel is width is 80 pixels. Now you can see the left padding and right padding both are combined, because each padding is of only 5 pixels. So if you combine both left and right, it becomes 10 pixels. Now for the left border we have a 2 pixels, and for the right border again we have a 2 pixel. We making combining both the borders. Now we have a 4 pixel total. Now margin is 0, so obviously the 0 pixel is the margin for this element. So it becomes a total 94 pixel is the total width of a box model. Next, to calculate the height, similar way we can calculate that it is the height of the content that is going to display. Then including the top and bottom padding we have a 10 pixels, and including the top and bottom border we have a 4 pixels. So margin is 0 because we have already given the 0 margin. So including top and bottom margin, the margin will be 0 pixel and total height will be 84 pixels. So this is the way we can calculate the height and width of a box model. So in calculation of height and width, we need to include both left and right as well as top and bottom padding and margins also in the total calculation of width and height of an element. Now look for an example for demonstration purpose how the box model will work. So here we have given the div element and width is 300 pixels, border is 15 pixels solid green, padding is 50 pixel and margin is 20 pixels. So the content that is going to display in this div is this is the content that is going to display this text is content of the box. So we have added 50 pixel padding. So basically this is the content that is going to display in the box model. So I am going to run this program so you can visualize how the program is running. So this is the way when we are running the program. You can see the program also. Now you can see this is the program. This is the program. We have used the div element here. This is the div element. Width, border, padding and margin is set. Width is 300 pixels, border 15 pixel, padding is 50 pixel and margin is 20 pixels. So when we run this program, so this is the output. So the width of the text is given, then padding is given, then margin is mentioned. So this is the way we can calculate the width and height of a model as well as we can run the programs. Next I am going to discuss about the CSS selector. Before the box model, next yes we are going to discuss about the CSS selector. So what is the CSS selector? CSS selector is basically to find the HTML elements and to display the style on these HTML elements. These are the types of CSS selector. The first one is simple selector. So it is selected based on the name of a particular HTML and tag name, and it can be selected on the ID as well as class that you can define in the CSS. Next category of CSS selector is combinator selector. So it is basically to specify the relationship between the elements. We will discuss about in detail what is the combinator selector. The third category is with the help of pseudo class we can select an element and perform the CSS. Fourth category is pseudo elements. We can select the tag on the basis of pseudo elements and we can perform the CSS. Fifth category is attribute selector. So every tag element consists of an attribute. On that basis we can select an element and we can apply the CSS. Now in this lecture I am going to discuss about combinator selector, pseudo class selector and simple selector. So I discuss about three selector in this lecture. In my coming video I will discuss about other two category, element selector as well as attribute selector. So next one is simple selector. In the simple selector, one of the selector is grouping selector. So it will select all the elements with the same style and definition. So you can group the elements instead of putting the styles for each element. You can group the elements with the help of the comma. So this comma indicates the grouping of H1, H2 and P elements. So at the same time, it will apply text element equal to center and color equal to red. So with the help of comma, you can have multiple elements at the same line. You can group the elements to apply the same styles. Next one is combinator. So combinator is basically provide the relationship between the selectors. So we have more than one selector and we can define some relationship. So CS selector can contain more than one simple selector. Between the simple selector, we can include combinators. So we will combine the two HTML tags, that is called the combinator, and we provide some relationship between these two tags. So basically there are four different combinators. The first one is descendant selector. So we are using space to represent descendant between the two tag elements. Second is child selector, that is represented with the help of greater than symbol. Third one is adjacent sibling selector. So we use the plus symbol here. Fourth one is general sibling selector. We are using this tilde symbol. The first one is descendant selector. As I discussed, in case of descendant selector, we use the space. So here space, div is an element, p is an element, and there is a space between both the elements. So meaning of descendant selector is that it will match all the elements that are descendants of a specified element. So we are going to discuss an example to represent the descendant selector. So in this example, you can see the P element is the inside the div elements. So all the P elements inside the div elements, basically the descendant selectors. So all the P element inside the div element will be selected, and the P element background color will be yellow. Next one is child selector. We are using the symbol of greater than. In case of child selector, we select all the elements that are children of specified element. So following example selects all P elements that are children of div elements. So here we are selecting P elements which is children of div elements and will make background color equal to yellow. So P must be the child of div, which this is called the child selector. Next is adjacent sibling selector. So adjacent sibling selector is used to select element that is directly after another specified element. So meaning of adjacent is, it is adjacent means immediately following. So following example as illustrated, first P element are placed immediately after the div element. So here we are using P element should be adjacent to the div element. So we have some examples. In this example we will discuss it. Now this is the example of adjacent sibling selector. In this you can see P is the sibling of D and it is should be immediately after. It should be immediately the div element. So we have the div element here and we have the P element, again we have the P element here, but these two P element are children of div element. But this P element is sibling of div element. This P element is also the sibling of D element. But here we are looking for only adjacent, that is immediately following. So it has the effect on only this first element, which is the sibling of D element. Similarly, we have the div element. This P element are children of this div element. Now, second is this P element will be the adjacent sibling of this second div element. Now, this will not consider, it will consider only adjacent sibling, and this is the output. you can see paragraph 3 background color is yellow, paragraph 7 background color is yellow. If you are running this program, now this is related to general sibling selector. Now you can see I am talking about this adjacent sibling selector. So this is the adjacent running of adjacent sibling selector. You can see paragraph 3 background color is yellow and paragraph 7 background color is yellow. If we look for its coding, this is the coding. You can see that we are using the plus symbol here, meaning is adjacent sibling selector should be considered for this CSS. Now div is the element and adjacent to this div element is paragraph 3, immediately sibling, that is immediately adjacent to a particular element. So paragraph 3 is sibling of div, so therefore the paragraph 3 is selected. Now in case of second div element, we have paragraph 7 which is adjacent to this second div. So therefore paragraph 3 and 7 are only selected to set the background color equal to yellow. Next I am talking about general sibling selector. So we are using this symbol, tilde symbol, general sibling selector. So in case of general sibling selector, we select all the elements we select all the elements that are next sibling of specified element. So in case of adjacent, we select only the first sibling. In case of general sibling, we select all the siblings of a particular element. So the example that I am going to discuss, it will select all the P element which are sibling to the div element. Now you can see the program. We are using this tilde symbol. So we are using this tilde symbol div P, and in this case all the P will be selected which are sibling to the div element, and the background color will be yellow. So you can see this is the div element and this is the P element which is sibling of this div element, and this is second P element which is also the sibling of this first div element. Now code is also sibling, but we have not considered the code tag here. We have considered only the P tag. So it will take only the P tag. So in that case, it will take this first P also and it will take this second P also. All the siblings will be selected and the background color will be yellow. And these are the sibling of this div element. So this will be output. You can see the paragraph 2 and paragraph 3 has been selected because of this condition. We are using a combinator selector. It is a combinator selector. We are able to identify the siblings and we are setting the background color equal to yellow. Now I am running this program so that you can understand. This is the program of general sibling selector. Now you can see this is the program. So we are using here combinator selector tilde, background color yellow, and this P element and second P element both are sibling to this div element. So the color of paragraph 2 and paragraph 3 will be yellow. So I am running this program. You can see the output. So in this you can see the paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. The background color is yellow because paragraph 2 and paragraph 3 are sibling of div element. Next, coming to the PPT. Next is pseudo class. So pseudo class basically it is a state of an element, like we are moving the mouse. So moving of mouse is an state. So we can style when we are moving the mouse. When a particular link is visited, it is also an state. We can style at that time. If a link is not visited, so it is also an state. So we can provide a different type of styles. So on the particular of event of an element, we can provide the pseudo classes. Now syntax of pseudo class is we are using the selector, that is any HTML element, then we are providing a pseudo class, then we have a property and value. Some of the example of pseudo class is for anchor tag. We have an anchor tag and pseudo class is link, meaning is it is an unvisited link and we can provide a color. If a link is visited, so we are using the pseudo class here. Now important is colon. So after a particular selector, you will use the colon and name of the pseudo class. These pseudo class are predefined by the CSS. We need to only use it. Then pseudo class is hover. That is whenever putting a mouse on a particular hyperlink, the color will be changed. And pseudo class is active. So if you are looking for an anchor tag, that is hyperlink tag, so these are 4 pseudo classes by which you can change the color, whether a link is visited or not visited, or it is active, you are moving a mouse on a particular hyperlink, that this is called a hover. Now there is an important part. If you are using the pseudo classes for an anchor tag, and hover must come after a link and a visited in the definition order to be effective. So to make it hover effective, it should be after the a link as well as a visited. A active must come after the a hover in the class definition in order to be effective. Pseudo class names are not case sensitive. Next is pseudo class and HTML class. So pseudo class can be combined with the HTML classes also. Like an example, now we have an anchor tag and then we have this is a class name, HTML class. Then we are using colon symbol, and after the colon we are using pseudo class. Name of the pseudo class is hover, and we are changing a color and setting a font size. Meaning is that whenever we are using this class, this hover will be effective. Look for the program, it is a P, no class is mentioned here. In the second P we are mention a class, it is a hyperlink, and we are mention a class highlight, and we are using the hyperlink here. In the second P again we are not using the class here, highlight class is not mentioned here. So you can see we have only a highlight class in the second paragraph with the second hyperlink. So when your mouse will be moved, it will change the color. So I am showing the program to you. This is the program for HTML and CSS classes. Now you can see this program that I recently explained. We have a highlight class, then pseudo class hover, and it is applicable here class equal to highlight. So the hover class will be applicable on this second hyperlink. Next we are running the program. So when we are running this program, you can see mouse is not here, so still it is working. So you can see here, so some kind of color is changing. So some kind of color is changing. So you can see here. So whenever you move in the CSS syntax, the color will change. So this way the color will be changed. This is the output you can see here. So when the mouse will move here, the color of this first link will be changed. So this is the first link in the P tag, and this color will be changed. Next is we are putting the pseudo class hover on the div element. So we have a div element with the background color green, color equal to white, padding 25 pixels, and text align center. Now we are using the div hover is the element we are using here. The first element is without the hover. We are just setting the styles. Now div hover, we are changing the background color equal to blue when we are making a mouse on the div. So the div content, the color will be changed to blue. Now we are using here, it is a P tag, and within the after the P tag we are using the div element. So when we move to the AKGEC, its color will be changed. So you can see the output here. So mouse over the div element below to change its background color. So when we move on this mouse over on this, then background color will be changed to the green color. Now when mouse over the div element below to change its background. So this is the way to we can make the changes in the background color of a div element. We are showing the program for this also. So this is the program you can see here. We have a div element green, white, 25 pixel and center, and we are putting our pseudo class on the div. Now we are using the div element, so AKG color will be changed. So when run this program, so when we move the mouse here, even though, so when we move the mouse here, the color of this element will be changed here. Next program is tooltip hover. So we have a title element in the every element. So with the help of this title element, we can make a tooltip in a different way. So we have a P tag here. You can see we have a P tag here. Display is none, background color equal to yellow, and padding is 20 pixels. And we are putting div element and pseudo class hover. Then we are using the P tag. So when we are using this, it is the div element. Within the div element, we are using the p element. So when we basically this is used for hover over a div element to show the p element. So when we move to the div element, the p content will be displayed automatically. So we can see it. So this is the output. So hover this div element to show the p element. So as we move the mouse on this content, it will display this. Display this content of the p tag. CSE1 section web designing of subject. So before moving on this div element, it will not display this content. When we move on this content, it will display this p element. Actually mouse is not here, so we are getting to difficulty to show the program. Okay, I am running this program also. We have the mouse. ठीक है, अगली बार कर लेंगे उसको, ठीक है, क्योंकि कुछ मेरे प्रोग्राम्स माउस पे हैं, ठीक है. So we are showing this div hover p tag. Okay, when we mouse on this one, you can see here. So when we mouse on this one, again I am running this program. So hover on this div element to show the p element. So you can see the content of p element is displayed. Again I am running this program. So when we hover on this div element on the show element, you can see the content of this p element will be displayed. So this is basically we are able to see because of this is we are able to see because of we are putting the p element after the hover. P element after the hover class. So when we mouse will be over on the div element, it will display the p element. So you can see putting the p this side and putting the p in the after the hover, it has a different effect. So we need to take care for this one. Next is one of the pseudo classes first child. So we are considering only the first child of a particular element. So it will matches a specified element, that is the first child of another element. The following example, selector matches any p element, that is the first child of any element. Now see this example. We have the p element, then we apply the pseudo class first child. Now color equal to blue for the first child. So we have the p element here, again we have the p element, then again we have the div element, again we have the div element. So if you consider the output, the first p tag is color in blue and third p tag is color is blue. The reason is this p tag basically the first child of this body tag, and this p tag is the first child of div element. So it is talking that there is a p element, and whenever the p element is a first child, its color become blue. So here the p element is the first child of this div element, and the p element of is the first child of this body element. Therefore the color of this both p element become blue. Now I am showing this program. This is the first child program. Now you can see this is the first child program of the p tag. I am running this program. So you can see the first child is color is blue, and third element is also color is blue because it is the first child of div element, it is the first child of body element. Next running. Now in the example that I am going to discuss, it will matches the first I element. So it will matches the first I element in all the P elements. So see the program, first I element, we have the P element, and within the P we have a I element, and within the I elements we need to consider only the first child. So you can see here we have the P element and there are two I elements, first and second. So we have to consider only the first I element, no need to consider the second I element. Now you can see the output. This is the first child I element, and accordingly it is displaying the output. The color is blue, and similarly again it is the first I element of this second P element. So it is again displaying the CSE1, the first I element, that is color equal to blue. Now when we run this program, okay, I will discuss the second program also, so it will be better to easily explain about this second program. Now in this second program, what we are doing, we are taking the P, and within the P there should be first child, then I will be considered. So in the following example, selector matches all I elements in the P element that are the first child of another element. So if you look for this one, P should be the first child of another element. Now within the P we are consider the I element only. So if you look for the first one, here the P, within the P I is considered as a first child, so it will taking only the one I. In the second example, P is the first child of any other element and we are taking all the I's. So we have the P element, it is the first child of body element, and this P element we are taking all the I element. I, this I will be taken and this second I will be taken. Now we are not going to consider this second P and this third, again second P is not going to consider. Now again we have a div element. Now in the div element, this P element is the first child, it is a first child, it is a first child of the div element. So this P element will be considered. Now in this P element we have taken all the I element, this I will be considered and second I will be considered. Now this second P element will not be considered because it is not the first child of the div element. Similarly, second P here will not be considered because it is not the first child of the body element. Now we are running this program. So when we run this program, it will display the output. In the first P, it is displaying all I in the blue color, and in the div of the first P, again it is displaying all the I in the blue color. So I am running both the program. So first look for the first child. This is the program you can see. So in this case, P element is there. Within the P, I elements are there. We consider I element only first child of I element, color equal to blue. So when we run this program, you can see the output. So this is the P element and it is taking only the first I element. Same for both the P elements. Now if you take for the first child for all I elements, so you can see here, first we look for the program. You can see here, we have the P element here. Now first child, meaning is P element can be a child of another element, and we will consider only the first P element. Now, within this first P element, we can consider all the I elements. So, you can see when putting the I here, it has a different meaning. When putting the I this side after the first child, it has a different meaning. In this case, we are taking all the I elements, which is the part of the first child of P elements. So, where are the first child? Here it is a body element, P is the first child, this P is the first child. Now, we have a div element, and again we have a P element. This P element is the first child of this div element. So, it will consider only this P element. In this P element, it will take all the I elements. So, CSC1 will be considered and CSC2 will be considered. Similarly, in this P element, it will take all the I elements. So, it will take CSC1 here and CSC2 here. Now, when we run this program, see the output. You can see the output. This is the first child of body element. This is the first child of div element. You can see two I elements are there, italic elements are there. So, it will taking CSC1 and CSC2 in the background color blue, and CSC1 and CSC2 the background color equal to blue. Now, this is the book reference that you can consider it for your learning about the CSS. I try to discuss here the practical aspect, how to run the program and what will be the output. In my next coming lecture, I will discuss about HTML practical examples as well as some CSS examples also. Thank you very much.